to be right here in AEW.
She's just eating it up right now, as well she should.
Yeah, what a homecoming in her hometown, as you mentioned, for Mercedes Mone, the CEO, who has center stage, and she is just basking in it.
What's up, Pro Wrestling World? It's your boy JB coming to you with my objective review of Mercedes Mone's current AEW run in 2024. I hope y'all recall that I am a Mercedes Mone fan. And I know she has stands out there. She got fanatics that are like the Beehive for Beyonce. So let me do this real quick. See this right here? I'm a fan of Mercedes, okay? And 85% of the reason why I went to AEW Double or Nothing this year is because Mercedes Mone debuted against Willow Nightingale in her first ever AEW match. So I'm a fan of this woman, okay? I mainly went to a pay-per-view because of her. So my take is going to be very objective, okay? It's going to be some good things and some bad things. Not all of her fault and some of her fault. So let's live in a society where we can agree and we can disagree respectfully. So before we dive deep into Mercedes' run at AEW, here's my take on Mercedes. I consider Mercedes currently, right now, the best women's wrestler in the entire world. Mercedes Mone is a 15-time champion, 10 times in the WWE, 5 times outside of the WWE at other promotions. She's the best wrestler in the world today. She can wrestle any style, any format. She has innovative offense. You can throw a lucha libre type wrestler like Stephanie Valkyrie at her. You can throw Japanese Joshi wrestlers at her. You can throw technical wrestlers at her. And Mercedes Mone will excel. Now, this is for another video, but I got her tied as the best women's wrestler overall in the history of pro wrestling. I got her tied with a specific person, but that's for another video. But currently, right now, Mercedes Mone is the best women's wrestler in the entire world. Now let's quickly go over Mercedes Mone's titles that she has collected throughout her illustrious career. Like I mentioned, she's a 10-time world champion at WWE, where she has won an NXT title. I think she's like a 2-time NXT champion, or maybe like a 1-time but with a long title reign. She's a triple crown champion. She's a Grand Slam champion. She's the inaugural tag team champion with Bayley with the Boston Hug connection. She's a 4-time tag team champion. She's a 5-time Raw Women's champion. And the interesting thing about this, in her 5 championships as a Raw Women's championship, it was only accumulated of 116 days, where she is currently at 120 days as TBS champion at AEW. So that was that ridiculous booking that Vince McMahon had when Sasha and Charlotte Flair was trading the championship every other week on Raw, which was the most ridiculous booking you can think of. But it's interesting to know that out of those 5 championship reigns, totaling 116 days, she's already been a TBS champion more than those days. So she's getting the run she deserves. She's having strong title defenses. So outside of the WWE, she was a champion 5 times, right? So she was a Pan-Optic champion and a independent wrestling entertainment champion as Mercedes KV. She's the current, she was, before she got injured, the New Japan Pro Wrestling Women's Champion. And she is now the New Japan Strong Women's Champion and the AEW TBS Champion. So it's widely documented that Mercedes, when she was going for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship back in 2022, it was her against Stephanie Valcour. She won that match, and then she had to wrestle and challenge Willow Nightingale for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. That largely was a title that was made for Mercedes. She injured her heel in that match, and she eventually had to lose the match so Willow Nightingale could be a healthy champion moving forward. So it was widely considered and widely reported that Mercedes Mone was approached by Tony Khan. I mean, she attended All In 2023. It's rumored that she signed a contract with them later that year. I don't know how true that is, but toward the end of 2023 or maybe early 2024, Mercedes Moné signed a contract with AEW. And it was she was kind of trolling online. I thought it was pretty funny because they made it proceed like it was a bidding war between Triple H and at WWE and Tony Khan at AEW. But everybody thought she was going to come back at the Royal Rumble. She didn't show up at the Royal Rumble, so it was a foregone conclusion that she signed with AEW. So it was an AEW Big Business Dynamite at the beginning of March, where she made her debut at All Elite Wrestling, where the best wrestle. She cut about a 10-minute promo that I thought was great. I thought Mercedes, one of Mercedes' weaknesses is her promo skills, which I think is enough to get by, but it's not up there as like one of those superstar level on the mic. But Mercedes makes up for that everywhere else when it comes to wrestling. So she made her debut in March at Big Business. And then later it was announced that she was going to wrestle the winner of the Julia Hart Willow Nightingale, who was the TBS champion at the time, at Double or Nothing in May. My issue with that whole booking was, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think maybe Julia Hart was injured, but she had to drop the title to Willow Nightingale. But it sucks for Willow Nightingale because she ends up being a transitional champion, not only for the New Japan Strong, then she ends up being a transitional champion for the TBS Championship because she beat Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale beat Julia Hart, and then 1 month later, she has to wrestle Mercedes in Mercedes' debut match at Double or Nothing. Nobody thought that Willow Nightingale was going to defeat Mercedes Moné at Double or Nothing in her debut match when she's the biggest signing of 2024. So with all that being said, now, I was there in attendance. That was a tremendous match, one of the best women's matches of the year between Willow and Mercedes. Mercedes got her revenge back on beating Willow Nightingale, who defeated her for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship just a year ago, or 2 years ago. So in hindsight, it was a great match now, but kind of sucked for Willow Nightingale to not hold the belt that long, and I think she only had handful of title defenses. So right then and there, when Mercedes wins this belt as a face, now the match leading up to it, the bill was very good, the storylines were very good, but Mercedes she was presented as a babyface. Then she was like a tweener. Then is she a heel? So I think the issue with the booking in that particular regard, if Mercedes is going to win the match on her debut, normally your baby faces are struggling from behind, fighting from behind, have to stretch, claw, get screwed over 15 times before they become a champion, right? So Mercedes winning the TBS championship on her debut match, it was like, she's it would have worked better if she was a heel, like a full-on, full-fledged heel, because heels cut corners, they're arrogant, they get help to win most of the time. So I think that should have been the approach for Mercedes going into that match. So you can probably think with the old guard at AEW women's roster, they're probably like, man, this woman comes in and she just wins a match like right off the bat. Now Mercedes she's put enough skin in the game. I mean, she's been absolutely successful everywhere she's been. Every promotion she's been a champion. But it's how you book and how the creative works that makes it acceptable. Because right now, Mercedes is coming into AEW. She's trying to gain her footing in an entirely new promotion and an entirely new fan base. So you got to be extremely careful in those first couple of months of how you book her. So, currently there's been rumors going around about Mercedes that the locker room is divided and issues going with her having her own private locker room, and she's got creative control. She winning belts, and only one I'm gonna believe out of all these reports is the Britt Baker stuff that's going on, because, and we're gonna get to this later, but Britt Baker was not interested in that feud with Mercedes Mone, and she was not interested in wrestling Mercedes Mone, and we're gonna get into that later. But overall, Mercedes Mone has had a total of 9 matches since her injury, and she's had 8 matches at AEW, and she's had 1 match at New Japan Strong. New Japan Strong title, but at New Japan Pro Wrestling. My issue with the handling of Mercedes Mone, one of the mistakes she made is she should not have announced that Tony Khan is giving her creative control. Now, we don't know how much control that is, but for you to say something like that, Mercedes, and then you go out and you win, basically you become a double champion in 4 matches in less than 3 months. That is going to genuinely and naturally rub some people the wrong way. So you don't want to announce something like that. Now, Mercedes does get great feedback. Now, there's women like Willow Nightingale who spoke very glowingly of her in an interview. Since Mercedes has been in AEW, women matches are longer, much longer. Women's matches are leading off more often in shows. And, I mean, when Willow and Mercedes wrestled for the first time in AEW, that was the longest match in AEW history, the longest women's match in AEW history, which was around 18 minutes long. So Mercedes is doing great things, but it's the handling of her creative that's the problem. If Mercedes was going to become a double champion in 4 matches, she should have been a full-fledged, arrogant heel. Straight up B.I., you know the rest. But you presented her as a babyface. Then she was kind of like a tweener. Then she was kind of like a heel. Then when you think about it, AEW, when she beat Willow Nightingale at Double or Nothing, you basically turned her babyface, because she was kind of like a tweener. You turned her babyface when it was announced that Sky Blue attacked her. So when Sky Blue came out there and attacked her, during her interview and she revealed it, it turned her into a babyface again. Going into the match against Stephanie Valcour at Forbidden Door. So it was just too much. Her character should have been solidified, man. That was the mistake, because people don't know what to think. When you really look at Mercedes and her run at AEW, she's not ingratiated with the diehards. Like, Mercedes fans, her fans, are coming to these shows cheering her on. And then you got some AEW fans, and then you probably got some WWE people who love Mercedes and going to support her, whatever, and support her and cheer. But when you look at Mercedes' run right now, you can't, if you objective and not this over the top fan, is not hitting on all cylinders. Her character has been too inconsistent. the way she went about winning these championships was not done completely the right way. And that's a little bit of her fault and mostly creative's fault. Because she should have been a full-fledged heel. She should have been aligned with the elite, with the Young Bucks and Okada from the start, because she fits well with them, her personality. So she would have aligned herself with the elite, and then she's cutting all these corners to win belts. Then it's more acceptable. She's a heel, she's annoying. But you had her as a baby face and a tweener and a baby face and a heel and tweener, and that really messed up her initial run in the company.